Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on just the future of the woodworking industry? Where do you see, opportunities for growth, innovation in our industry in the next, 5 to 10 years?
Man, I used to think everything was invented already until we got into the product development space. And now we literally have a Trello board with 500 more machines on it that need to be built. Like I could, if I had a infinite dollars, I mean, so there's no question that there's room for innovation. The big one for me and probably for most of your listeners is the automation. Like, and I gotta, I should get different hats made so you can know that I put my lean hat on when I'm talking. But if I could share a quick story about one of my biggest regrets at the door company is we didn't automate soon enough. And so business ebbs and flows, right? You're going to be busy and then you're going to be slow, and then you're going to be busy and then you're going to be slow. And for as long as I've been alive in this industry, there's never a perfect month where it's just like exactly how many orders you need, exactly shipping what you need. Like it's always pulling your hair out, working overtime, or trying to figure out what to do with guys sweeping the floor. And so, what my biggest regret is that 5 years ago, I didn't automate enough, because what would happen to us now is 5 years later, all of my automation would be paid for. So for the amount of robotics we're putting into our company right now, by the end of 2025, like wait for the videos. Like you're not going to believe what this factory looks like. And if I would have done that 5 years ago, they would all be paid for right now. So as soon as business started to get slow, I would just put on a sale, and I would suck in orders from my competition based on price alone. My margin would go down, but not enough to affect us. And we could maintain that custom, or not that custom, but that constant flow of orders. And then when business picked back up, then sales over, and so we would be the ones where work is flowing in and out because we automated enough, and we didn't do it soon enough. So, you know, I would encourage all the woodworkers, like, we are literal 100 years behind the times in woodworking. Like, we're still cutting with table saws. That's 1800 technology. Go to an automotive plant. It's
Yeah.
a different world. So, my advice to everybody would be, what doesn't matter what process it is, take your painful processes and really start figuring out how to automate. Really start even looking at your front end, and there's lots of websites, Zapier, all these things that can help you automate your front end. Like, you as people get more expensive and harder to find, this is going to be the number one thing that separates companies, the successful from the not successful. And as far as where the industry is going, I hope one day we can charge what plumbers charge. I think it's crazy. We have to have $5 million in tools to charge $60 an hour. I could have bought a van and a wrench and charged 120. But I do hope that that's going to, the pendulum's going to swing the other way. Like, how many guys were like me who got out of commercial millwork because, you know, contractors lie, and I hate them all equally, even if they're listening, I'm sorry. And so we just got out of the business altogether. But you can only do that for so long until the demand comes back on to them. And at that point, my advice to everybody's going to be raise your prices, boys. Make some money.
I'm I'm always, and we are always thinking about this, and you look at it. ERP itself has come obviously a long, long way from its infancy, as I've mentioned. The functionality enhancements that we've included, and I can make a case for custom woodworking. Business has already pretty much found supported technology in each type of aspect of the business. On the business side, you've got the ERPs that are out there, the curse nests that are out there. But there's also design and engineering work that needs to go on. So there's design software, there's engineering software. Engineering software such as CAD and CAM and MES, manufacturing execution systems, uh, cutting optimization, nesting software, et cetera, and CNC planning and or programming software that's out there. On the design side, you certainly have some great design, beautiful design capabilities today. So then you ask me, well, where we go, in the future in these areas. And to this end, I think the answer is more in terms of what's the strategy? And the strategy being that, well, there's really two approaches. Do we have the ERP doing more and more and bringing in all kinds of capabilities that are what the ERP really, which is a business-oriented, project management-oriented solution, is now delving into other areas like engineering and potentially design software. So it's offering a much wider width or breadth of what it's offering, but doing none of it optimally, as opposed to having a really incredibly comprehensive and flexible, customizable, foundational software, because Crow's Nest as your infrastructure, and there is engineering software out there, well, that engineering software is going to end up the output being inside of Crow's Nest. So you have one place to go to get everything. And that gives total visibility to everybody. So the other side of that strategy, rather than being a be-all to end-all for everybody, is a best-of-breed solution where you've got an incredible, strong, and ever growing foundational infrastructure, as well as then on top of it, getting best-of-breed engineering, maybe best-of-breed design, et cetera, and having it all unified in one place. Well, when we look at the strategy, our strategy is that latter, where we are the foundation. We're going to remain true to that. We don't plan to become an engineering software because our core competency, our knowledge is based on project management. And therefore, we're always looking at what are the new technologies that are out today, i.e. cloud-based solutions, et cetera. And so when we look in the future, what can we do to apply what is now available that wasn't available a year ago, 2 years ago, that we can incorporate into what we're offering? Not only coming out with more capabilities in the way of customer requests, could we have the software do this and this, and now our software is always grown, but do it in such a way that it's really, really purposeful, because there's a new technology that makes things either just easier to use or looks better or more efficient, etc. So that's how we approach the future. Now, having said that, I probably would be thrown out of this podcast if I didn't bring up the two letters AI. Everybody today is talking about AI. It's getting to some point that some people think you won't be able to go to the bathroom without AI. And the real key here is the use case. AI in itself is really good at just a few things. One is regurgitating, all the language it has access to online to output a topical, relevant response. Examples are that you can write stories, have AI write stories for you, and rewrite it in a different language, or rewrite it to shorten what you had, or to blow it out further and expand upon what your thoughts were in somewhat professional manner. AI is great at that. Also, AI is great at developing graphics or pictures and or vocals. But let's look at the use case. In our case, on the business side, the project management side, we can see where maybe AI might be very purposeful in communication. So we get in our document management area, a email or a letter comes in, and maybe we could apply AI at some point where we'll look at that letter, understand what it says, and put out an automatic response without somebody typing it out. Okay, well that potentially is a use case. But to me, the real power of AI could be purposeful where it's not practical. So an example of that would be, I would love to apply AI to take a set of plans and specs, look at them, understand what's being asked, look at what our capabilities, what our typical pricing is based on our situation, and then look at all the other pricing of similar projects. And that's what AI is good at, creating patterns, looking at common patterns of information, and therefore predicting what you should go in would be a successful price where you'll make money and you'll win the bid. But it's not practical because what woodworkers were what's broadcast? What woodworker is going to broadcast? Well, here's my price on each of these projects. That information doesn't exist. And if a WI doesn't have information they can latch onto to look for those commonality of patterns, then you've got nothing. So as good as AI sounds today, there are practical limits. Now, maybe this will change in the future, and we're keeping our eyes on that. But so for that reason, I've stated maybe a case where we can have automatic correspondence. That could be a feature where it'll go. But rather than that, I think more importantly for business, where we're going is we've got an incredible set of capabilities that's more purposeful than anything else I've seen. What can we do to make it even more purposeful based on new technologies that are coming out? And that's what we're always applying. And we literally have a new underpinning of our user interface. Just the technologies that come out in the last couple of years that will start important. That's an example.
We're still relationship based. We still people buy from people. And the more you can project your culture and your personality and things like that, you more differentiate. Because what's happened in this industry for decades is the only thing that's differentiated companies is their price. And that's why we have a huge issue with low bid. So the more you can push out, like Rogers O'Brien is doing a great job out of the Dallas market. All Texas, they're a tech forward company. They're constantly trying to do tech. They got augmented reality in the field already. They're using robots in the field and things like that. And or you got there's a company called Renegade in New Orleans that they actually changed their name from Palmazano Construction to Renegade because that was their culture was we're the renegades. We're going to do things different than everyone else. They even have a festival fundraiser every year called the Renegade Fest. Like you're seeing these people and the employees flock to them, potential customers, go flock to them. And there's customers that totally like, I don't want that. I don't want, with the Rogers O'Brien example, I don't want robots and augmented reality on my job sites. Then fine. But, they're building the Tesla space hotel. Mm-hmm. They align very well with a company like Tesla. And they've got more project over a lot of other DCs that were bigger than them because of that culture.
Right. Yeah, the one thing I would say to answer your question too is, nothing's going to change on content. Content has been king now for 20 years. It'll remain king. You've got to put it out. Podcasts, blogs, white papers, write books, whatever you got to do, videos, and whatever it may be, right? Content is going to remain essential because every one of these tools that we're talking about through AI and all of that, they're learning through content. So, the company that puts out smart content is the company that wins. And that's just it's been that way. It's been super important for a long time, and it's going to remain on the top priority of importance.
It's going to come back to people. We are a relationship industry. We've got to build a relationship with our people, relationship with our customers, relationships with our vendors, that we can navigate the changes that are happening, trust each other, and know that we all have an end goal. Mill Creek, our parent company, our core principle is, building dreams for our families and our customers. And it truly is that. That's what we're doing every single day, is building that relationship, building that partnership, and finding a way to work together, because growth for growth's sake that's not what we're about. That's not what we want to do. We want to make everybody around us better, and realizing that we are a relationship-based industry, protecting those relationships, working through those relationships, working through the hard times and the good times, right? Some of the best relationships I've ever built were over a project that went sideways at some point, and we worked through a problem and we got through it together. And those are some of my best long-standing, lifelong relationships in this industry. Started with a immense problem, a big problem, and we worked through it together. We hit the schedule, we hit the budget, whatever it may be. We worked through a manufacturing problem, and we brought the team together. Those relationships typically started with something adversarial, and we found a way through it together as a team.
I thoroughly believe that drafting will always continue to play a pivotal role in the millwork process for years to come. What the difference would be, however, it's going to be a change in the medium in which we use the draft. I mean, because if you think about it, what 40s, 50s, all the way up to the late 80s, where we had large rooms of 20, maybe 25 drafters all sitting at the drafting table, physically drafting on paper. And now what we're sitting in front of our computer screens and we draw on the screen. This too will become antiquated. I could really see maybe in the next, I'll say maybe in the next 10, 15 years, we can be drafting with goggles on, you know? For real. I believe that's going to be the next step. It's going to be, I won't call it a metaverse, but it definitely will be drawn into the cloud. And there's not going to be computer screens. So you're going to be a grandfather explaining to your grandchildren what a computer was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's going to be the future of the millware industry. It's going to be off the computer screen. It's going to be joined in a virtual space.
So more, leveraging augmented reality or
Yeah.
virtual reality tools and changing the way we work. Obviously, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You already said, that you see millwork drafting continuing though to be pivotal, even though the tools we use might change.
Right.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It's still going to be key that we have to define up front and show it
Right.
virtually, digitally. However, what are we building and how are we
Right.
going to build it, right, for
Right.
approval?
Yeah, I mean, the drafting tentacles touch every part of the millwork process. I mean, it tells purchasers what to order, tells engineers what to program, the shop what to make, the installers what to install. So it's still a key feature to our processes. Like I said, the only thing that may change is the medium, but that medium has to go to print at some point in time, unless you want to have people walk around your shop floor with goggles on everywhere. But yeah.
Great question. So, just engineering, we're talking, right? I do see we're never going to be able to make enough engineers to keep up with the demand. Just as an industry, we're not good at it. You have podcasts on it. I've given talks on it. As an industry, we're horrible at making engineers. So there will always be enough work for us engineers in this industry. People should not be worried that whatever technology that comes along is going to replace them, because I just don't think it will. I do think you're going to see technologies that are faster. The current engineering, you've heard my spiel. The current engineering state of engineering software is too slow, and we need it to be faster. So we're going to do some stuff to fix that along. I'm sure other people will too. It's going to get faster. I think you'll see it more outsourcing. I think you're going to see people having more drafting and engineering outsourcing. And again, if you're an engineer, it's not going to come at the expense of your job. This is going to be on top of what companies have in-house, right? The real problem with our industry is that it's so lumpy. Sales comes in giant lumps. You don't get the same amount of sales every week. And so somehow you have to smooth out that lumpiness of the incoming work into something steady for your factory floor.
Right.
It happens in engineering, and nobody could have enough engineers to staff for those peaks. You'd run out of money too quick. So I think our industry that's historically been pretty reluctant to outsource, we're going to get good at it. That's what I think is going to happen. And that's going to be technology. It's going to be change management, which you got back to before. And it's going to be a shift mostly in mindset.
Just being involved in it every day and, fielding all of the calls and all the things that happen on social media, all the outreaches on our website, all the emails that we get daily. If we stay in the game, all of this is going to happen. I haven't purposed, throughout all these years, and especially in the last 5, it wasn't like I went out and said I'm going to do this, and this. It's something that happens. It's something that I personally believe that, again, I give the credit to God. God is ordering our steps in this business. We can make our plans, but he orders our steps. And so we're getting up each day and we're taking on the things that we're taking on. And if we find a new need, or something comes along, or someone comes along and says, hey, how about this? It's a lot of it's just being open, and it's being involved in all these different things. I never dreamed that we would be doing trade shows, that we would be involved in all these associations. I never dreamed that we would be on all these social media online forums. And I mean, we're getting on TikTok now, all these different crazy things that Dad knows nothing about, and these guys are ushering into the business. It's just it's half the battle is just being there. And I also always, if anybody asks me what the most important thing that I believe about business is first of all, business, making money, selling product, that's the back seat. The front seat is being true to who you are, doing business with the kind of values that are important to you. And to me, integrity, treating people as you would expect to be treated, loving other people that are sometimes not lovable, right? Doing things and being more outward focused. I just believe the more that you can do that, the more things, then the stuff flows your way, right? Things are going to come your way. They're going to say, well, we have a problem. We have a potential issue. My goal and my hopes is that they will remember that Rise Up, our company, our family business, whatever you want to call it, was there the last time, and we performed a good service. We provided a good product, and we did business with integrity. We're the kind of people that people want to do business with, because as we all know, that's not true of every company, and that's not true of all people out there. So that's going forward. I could predict all I wanted, what's going to happen and how this industry is going to change and whatever. Honestly, that would be a little bit of a waste of my positive energy and who we are. Let's deal with what we got, and the industries as they change, as the technology changes, we roll with it, and we keep doing what we need to do to be that company and to be that solution and to be that company of integrity to everyone and anyone, no matter how big or small. I've been told, well, you're taking too many small clients. You shouldn't do the one. I'm like, that no, that's not true. Everyone is as important as the next customer. So I think that's the most important thing personally.
And I think the future is so bright. I just think back to 25 years ago when I actually started setting elevations with water levels in downtown San Francisco. And then there was a transit level when we finally bought one. And now everybody's using lasers, right? Job sites used to be like littered with extension cords, wrap this everywhere. Now everybody's got a battery. The invention of Blue Beam, which is just amazing to me, so AutoCAD-esque, that our industry, the builders itself and the inventions that are still out there to be figured out is just endless. I have 3 sons. One's already in the trade. One's in college thinking about becoming a project manager in the trades. I have one in the Army who thinks he's going to get out and join the trades as well. So I don't think AI is taking over construction yet, as far as the guys are actually doing the physical work, and there's so much out there that can be improved on.
Yep.
It's exciting. It's,
standards and processes. It just makes all that a lot easier. Machinery and automation is going to just continue to improve, especially with the aid of AI. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. So with that, then, what I hope to see is more of that mentorship mentality, right? I mean, everything is going to progress, almost automatically just because of technology. But what's not going to change unless we make the change is that human connection, that person to person relationship, passing down those skills and that knowledge that, our older and experienced generation have that our younger generation does not yet. So that's what I hope to see. But again, like I said, it's going to come down to us being able to accept that and be willing to pass all that on.
I see a lot of people retiring. That's what I see. And that's it's kind of a catch-22, right? So, the lack of skilled labor is real. So, like I said, with my guy Mike, he's going to be parting ways with me in the next few years, and finding a good replacement for him is going to be really difficult. But there's also an opportunity. So, the opportunity, I think, for people that either want to get into the business at this point or have been in it, like me, in their 30s, that is at this point, this pivotal point of my career and my business life, that I could take it to the next level. Because there's guys like the guy that I purchased business from that are retiring around every corner, and there's lots of opportunities like this, the same one that I just did, out there all over the place, and there will continue to be over the next 10 years. So I think that's the big shift in here, and I don't know. We'll see how it all goes. So see how it all checks out here.
This time, we are using Jobs for the Future and JFF, and that is Brent Wheel is an employee of Jobs for the Future, and he is our intermediary because of the work he did with the NKNB and getting standards for that association. I think I said that association right, Mark, didn't I?
I think so.
So, so again, it's like he's our wood manufacturing person now. And so he's on that committee. And so it's actually JFF that's going to take all the paperwork, put the bow on it, and send it off to the Department of Labor when we're done.